Hey, what's up guys? My name is Dorian Avila. I'm a logo designer and illustrator, and in this video I'm going to show you guys how to create this illustration right here. So this logo, we're going to do an illustration of a mermaid holding a basket full of fruit, and this is for a current customer, and I've been tweaking a lot the design, so this has just been the latest update. So let's get right into it. So like always, I start with the blob brush and I use the brackets on the keyboard, or in this case I have this remote here where I have the key mapping to the brackets. So I start out always with my outline, and I always make sure that my outline is a little bit thicker than the details I'm going to add later into the illustration. I love the blob brush because it's just so versatile. It's so easy to make designs with, because with the pen tool is a little more accurate, but it's mainly for more symmetrical kind of designs. If you're doing an illustration, you can use the pen tool, but I just find the blob brush a little bit just smoother. The workflow is just a little smoother. So I'm going around this sketch I did in Photoshop. The customer had provided the original design. I just kind of tweaked it a little bit. I added the basket with the fruit. It was originally a mermaid. Yeah, I'm gonna Control Z on that one. And we're just going all around. Here's a mouth. We go in and up. And then we're doing the forehead here. And now we're going to work ourselves into the hair. And I love Photoshop for a lot of these sketches. I mean, even traditional sketching will work if you just scan your design afterwards. But since I'm already using the computer, I just feel comfortable with Photoshop. Sometimes I use Procreate on my iPad. This is a Wacom Cintiq. But doesn't matter where you make your sketch as long as you make it. Okay, we're just gonna follow this all over here. Gonna go around. The original design did not have a tail. Kind of added into this because the customer said it's supposed to be a mermaid, and I just thought, you know, a tail will look nice into the design. We'll see what happens. Okay, we go all around the tail here, and then we move into the body. Some on the chest, and right into the arm. Then up into the hands. I'm getting a lot of messages of people asking me if they need to have certain tools to make these types of logos, and you really don't. You can create a lot of this on iPad. There's applications that even vectorize your designs nowadays. I'm gonna go into sketching, and can increase the transparency in the sketch because I'm having a harder time seeing the lines on this. Okay. I love to work with different layers for different parts of the design. So for instance, I have a layer just for the outline and a different layer for the details. So all of this is Oh. All of this is foliage. It's just a bunch of fruits and vegetables. I'm just going into the outline and making sure I'm using the same color for the details as I did for the outline. And I just kind of follow the sketch I did. And since this is an illustration, I mean, if you look hard enough, there's actually a lot of little quote unquote mistakes. And that's fine. I mean, we can always go back and clean up a lot of that. But in this kind of style, you can get away with little imperfections because it's kind of a vintage style illustration / logo. It's not meant to be like this super symmetrical, robotic kind of design. Right here is part of the basket. And we're going to start another layer here. I think it was kind of unnecessary. I'm just going to do this little brick kind of pattern and just have fun with it. Okay, we're going to move on to the foliage. And I'm just gonna fast forward this part so I can just finish a lot of this stuff in here, this detail. So in this part, we're gonna start moving into the arms and hands, or hands and arms. Just all the way down. Then all the way through the back, and then we start. I'm gonna make the blob brush a little bit smaller with the brackets. I'm just gonna define the eyes and the mouth. Okay, so here the hair in the original illustration had a lot of flowers and little ornate designs, and just going to show you a little bit of that. So again, you just kind of trace your original sketch. The customer had originally provided it's more of a screenshot of her current logo, and I just kind of traced a little bit of that and then added some additional little accents. So whenever I gotta fill in a lot of stuff, I just kind of do the outlines first and then worry about filling in any kind of detail. Okay, so I'm just gonna fast forward this next part. Okay, now that we've done a lot of that hair, we're gonna start working on a little bit of the front part of the design. This strap here on the mermaid kind of extends all the way from here to the bottom. And just to cover up the mermaid. Okay. And now this bottom part is water. That's what it's supposed to represent. Kind of waves. So let's move into the tail, some details. And remember, the blob brush, you can find that with Shift B. And there's settings that you can find on the blob brush, but honestly, I just use the default settings. I don't do anything fancy. And then just to erase any mistakes, I use Shift E for eraser. Another nice thing about using a pen like this is when you turn it around, it has an eraser, and it's by default set to Shift D. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, I don't see me using this for anything but the eraser. That's what this remote is for. It does take a few weeks to get used to both this remote and this type of pen, but once you get it, it's pretty smooth. I think only the Apple pencil comes close to this kind of pencil. I mean, I love the weight of it. I love that it has 2 buttons on it, and it just feels real nice in your hand. But it does have a kind of a learning curve. Okay. So once my design is done, which it isn't yet, if you want to, since this is all vector, if you want to kind of merge all the vector lines. So for example, if I select that whole layer, you can actually see a lot of the vector lines. So you can see where this outline from this stroke right here are not connected. And a way you can fix that, if you want to merge everything that's touching, select all the layers that you want to merge, and then here under Pathfinder, there's this little 2 boxes overlapping called the merge. You just hit that and it will merge all the overlapping points in your vector, and it's just smoother that way. If you want to change the color of stuff, I mean, you can still do it if it's in separate layers, but it's so much easier having everything on one vector. And then we're just going to finish off the tail here. Do some of the little scales. Like so. And this is just to trace our initial sketch. We always go back and just clean up a little mistakes and whatnot that we didn't catch the first time. But if you want to take, all the time in the world making sure that every little, and in illustration, at least in my style, every little line is perfect, it's just gonna take you forever versus just giving a quick outline, looking at it, adding all these basic details, and then really going back and erasing some stuff, and it just makes your workflow a little smoother. Okay, so the next part, I'm just gonna fill in the water in black. I have all these little accents here, and fill in the piece of cloth here. So I'm just gonna fast forward this part. Okay, so we're gonna start adding some color to this design, starting with the background. And I'm gonna make this illustration into a logo. We'll start with the oval here. Right about so. Of that shape. I'm gonna center that. And we're gonna try and fit the illustration into this. grabbing the edges of this oval to stretch it out to make sure that we can fit this into the illustration. We're going to zoom out a little bit. We're going to stretch this up. We really want to keep the shape of the oval here. I think we're pretty close. We're just going to cut the excess here. Maybe make it a little bit more oval. There you go. We're going to select the illustration and the oval. And with the shape builder, with Shift M, we're going to go ahead and delete the excess on the illustration, anything outside of the oval basically, by holding Option. Then we're left with this. Extra piece here. This extra piece that we're trying to isolate. There we go. And then once again, here's our oval. Now the background, we are going to make it dark. There you go. Then we're going to lock that. And next, we're going to add a type of gradient on the actual illustration. Okay, so we select that whole layer. And I'm trying to select just the illustration, not the oval. And then from there, I have this pre-created little bar here with a gradient, some gold colors on it. And we select that, we go to our illustration, and you can see three boxes here: color, gradient, and this is usually reserved for the stroke, the outline, outside of a shape or illustration. But we hit the gradient. Now, it looks really bad right now because everything's on a separate layer as far as every stroke in the illustration. But if you select the whole illustration and with the letter G, if you drag, it'll make it into one thing. Now you have this. Then from here, we are going to make a copy of that oval so it stays kind of the same shape by highlighting the layer, holding Option, dragging it down, and holding Shift and pulling the corners. We can make something much larger. Now we only want the ring or the outline of it. And we go to stroke up here, tap it a few times, and about that size, maybe a little smaller. There you go. Now we want to center that. Get it about the same height as that. now we just have to add some text to this. Okay, so I went ahead and zoomed in a little bit on this illustration so you guys can see what's going on, but I'm gonna go ahead and add some text on this. And since this is going to go around the oval, we have to make sure that we select the right type of option for the text. So with the letter T, type tool, we select type on path tool, and then we go ahead and select our oval, the one inside here, and type on that path. And using the keyboard, I'm gonna type our text. And just by default, it's really small and dark. So change the color, and under character option, just increase the size of that. Gonna make that all caps. And then just changing the text here. Fortunately, it looks like we accidentally deleted the oval there. No big deal. So we're going to copy our text. And there's some live mistakes here, and we're just gonna Command Z all the way back to our oval. There you go. And then just make a copy of that oval, that way we don't delete it by accident again. Type on path. Command V to paste that new text. Change the color of the text. We center the text. And then holding the edges of that text and holding Shift, we basically turn that text upside down. Now the text isn't center, and the way to fix that is if you zoom in and down here, you see these two little boxes. You grab one of them with Command, and you try to your best to kind of center these. There's a little small dot on the bottom, so just drag them with Command, and that should center your text pretty well. Okay. Now setting the base shift line, basically moving this text to the center of the ring, between the ring and this oval, just like so. And we want to make the text a little bit bigger. Just readjusting it, and then just working on the spacing, the kerning on the text like so. Okay, then holding Option or Alt, we drag down the text, make a copy of it. Then we go to type on path, type on path options. We flip it here. You can hit a preview so you can see what you're doing, and then a sender, and there you go. And then we just center that again with this option down here on this box. If you don't have this box, your character, you can find it under Window. Okay, then we highlight that text with Team. And just make that a little bit smaller. And then we work on the spacing. Do our best to center it. We're just trying to shrink a little bit this of the text on each side. There you go. And then from here we start a new layer, and we make two little rings. Start with one and just a stroke. So I make the stroke a little bit bigger. Copy that with Alt/Option. Okay, try to center that. Then another layer. Get some text in there. I want to make sure we do the fill, not the outline. Okay, just change the spacing to 0. Place that on there. And drag a copy of it over here. Okay, and the last little tricky thing we're going to do is going to the text and adding some gradient to that text. There's several ways of doing this. The easiest is by right-clicking on it and create outlines, and basically makes your text into a vector. And you can make copies of the original text just in case you want to go back and edit the original text. And then we just hit gradient, and then holding the letter G, well, not holding, just tabbing it, drag from left to right. You pull that, you should get a nice little even gradient there. And then that should be it. All right, so we're gonna go back and just fix a lot of the little details on the original illustration, but that just gives you a rough overview of how to do this. You can always go back and change a lot of stuff. So all right, you guys, thank you for watching, and take care.